A few days later, the raid team gathers at Grand Park, the usual place Jian works. Some players are surprised by the number of big names on the team who have come for a strategy meeting. Seeing such elite hunters on his team makes Jian feel like an imposter. He's even worried because he didn't bring his usual robe. Kai waves him over, easing Jian's nerves around the strangers. Jian modestly says he's just a lousy F-rank player, questioning why he's with a team of elite B rankers. Heiji reminds him that despite his rank, his healing skills are excellent and that they'll need all the help they can get. Then the raid leader arrives, the number 1 guild's SS-class warrior, Li Hyesung. Even Heiji is excited to see him, and Jian is stunned to be in his presence. The leader suggests assessing everyone's abilities before discussing the plan, so they start with a warm-up session. Heiji is pumped, hoping to get revenge from their previous fight. Jian, however, is shocked by the leader's blunt commands, but no one objects. The leader's confident presence is impressive. Cut to the battlefield. Hyung casually cuts down lizard warriors with ease, impressing Jian. He reminds himself that his stats are too low to fight like Hyung, and that his survival so far is thanks to an elemental ring boosting his stats. Jian decides to stick to magic healing for now, as combat at close range is dangerous. Still, watching Hyung's swordplay sparks a nostalgic feeling in Jian, but he knows he must be cautious until his stats improve. Inside Jian's mind, his past self, the one who defeated the demon lord in another world, urges him not to waste his precious skills. Jian watches Hyung's SS-ranked skill, absorbing stats from each monster he kills. The buffs last 5 minutes and increase with consecutive kills. It also boosts magic power and agility by 10%, making Hyung a formidable force. Jian realizes he's found a skill to boost his physical stats after searching for one for so long. After Hyung defeats the minions, the field boss appears, a poison lizard named Kinga. Hyung, unfazed, activates his limit break, boosting his offense for 60 seconds. In berserk mode, he kills the boss with a single strike before it can even move. The boss's soul is absorbed, boosting each player's stats, and the raid is cleared easily. Heiji is a bit jealous she didn't get to fight, while her brother thinks she's ungrateful for Hyung's help. Jian is surprised to learn that even without direct combat, players receive rewards because his constant buffs and debuffs contributed to the success. He now understands why healers level up so fast. Support can be incredibly effective. After the warm-up, Hyung takes charge of organizing before the rewards are handed out. Jian, zoning out during the explanation, focuses instead on a new skill, called Catalyst, gained from the boss's defeat. Though curious, he's more excited about his powerful new buffs that boost physical stats. The leader jokes with Jian, teasing his tired expression, but Jian just wants to get home and test his new skills. Days pass and the raid party hasn't yet invaded the Sky Island. Jian is exhausted but proud as he checks his status window. He's finally earned 4,000 points, enough to defeat the boss easily. The funny thing is, Bro had to kill 120 monsters daily in raids to get to this level. The frequent quests leave Jian little rest, but he's glad to have challenges. Excited, Jian upgrades his copy skill to level 3, aiming to combine his new powerful skills. He dreams of pairing buffs like Blood Frenzy, Brilliant Authority, and Change Resistance for an unstoppable attack build, hoping to surpass even Hyung. With only 3 skill slots available, Jian decides to copy Fireball, Brilliant Authority, and Resistance to Change for the next raid. In the next scene, Jian faces a monster with a devilish grin, knowing his new buffs will incinerate it. His ruthless killing spree catches attention on the forum, earning him a reputation as a psychopath who one-shots enemies with fireballs. A video shows Jian luring a field boss away and killing it with a giant fireball. Forum users are amazed by his speed and power, questioning if he's really a mage. During a battle with a giant serpent, Jian uses fireball to save a duo and then runs as the snake chases him. His relentless chip damage strategy astonishes other players. Meanwhile, the world's #1 player, Muhammad, watches the same video and is convinced the psychopath is Jian. Muhammad notes that Jian's skills are professional and experienced, unlike his seemingly calm demeanor. Muhammad tasks his assistant with closely monitoring Jian and the Raider Guild, worried about their rising influence. Speaking of the Raider Guild, their boss also watches Jian's video, recognizing him as the psychopath. He keeps a close eye on Jian's actions. Yu Yan, a member of the guild, gets frustrated when he sees videos of Jian's raids uploaded by others. He did all the hard work but receives no credit or money. He decides to upload his own videos to monetize the content and plans catchy titles to attract viewers. Yu Yian imagines getting rich from ad revenue, but soon snaps back to reality. Back to Jian, who is now in a pitch-black night, wondering how he'll gather materials without seeing. Suddenly, a B-ranked daily quest pops up, offering buffs and rewards in exchange for completing tasks. Jian is surprised. He usually only gets E or F-ranked quests. He regrets coming out at night but wants to finish before midnight. While searching, Jian spots a blue crystal ball, exactly the quest item he needs. He realizes the quest wants him to explore the entire field to collect these hidden crystals, which is more annoying than expected. Suddenly, a giant monster eagle ambushes Jian. He narrowly dodges and kills it with a fireball. The explosion attracts nearby raiders curious about who's hunting monsters at night. Their leader tells them to eliminate anyone interfering in the raid ruthlessly. Jian finishes hunting monsters and has collected 9 of 10 crystals, feeling optimistic about completing the quest early. Just then, a massive angelic monster appears, worrying Jian because the guild raid is scheduled for tomorrow. If the boss is taken before they arrive, their plan could fail. Masked raiders attack the angelic monster, adding to Jian's concerns as chaos grows. A new quest appears. Conquer an F-rank special field and defeat the boss invading Earth, plus, destroy the special field. Jian wonders what conquer means. Capture the monster, perhaps? He decides to sit back and enjoy the chaos. The masked raiders bring down the winged monster by reducing its health below 50%, forcing it to land. Jian watches comfortably. This moment also marks the start of the third phase of the boss fight, where Cannel powers up with a huge boost. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows dust into the air, and Julian shields his eyes. That's when he spots the last essence he's been looking for. He jumps up, humming happily about how easy it was to find it. Just as he grabs it, some masked guys nearby get knocked down. They quickly get up and see Julian lying there. They ask who he is, but then assume he's on their side and tell him to get up because they'll need him for the mages. Julian stands, holding a mask he took from one of them, wondering who these guys are, but decides to follow along for now. Quietly, he thanks the guy whose mask he took. When he joins them, his quest system alerts him that he finished the quest and gave him a buff. While another player fights the boss directly, someone else quietly attacks from a distance with powerful, blue flames. Everyone wonders who could have such strong magic. Julian feels a little guilty about doing massive damage from the sidelines and grabbing all the loot without much risk, but he also has to figure out how to use the strong buff he got. Doing too little might make others suspicious, but going all out would put him in the spotlight. Still, he's having fun wrecking the boss with his overpowered stats. Soon, the group notices he's going a bit too far. The boss then summons stronger monsters, griffins and rhinos, which force the raiders to split up and fight. Some outsiders accidentally stumble into the raid early, and the masked guys running the event get mad. One outsider questions why the raid is happening early, and the masked leader kills him instantly. Realizing things are getting out of control, Julian thinks it's best to run away. Just then, Hyesung and his team arrive to save the day, and Julian knows he's in trouble. The raid leader mocks Hyesung's group, calling them useless. Hyesung calmly replies that it's stupid to think they could get away with killing people and stealing the boss. Julian tries to plan his escape, but the boss starts attacking everyone. The raiders focus on knocking out all the rival team's healers to get the final hit. Julian is sweating, trying hard to think of a way to finish the boss before everything falls apart. Suddenly, Hyesung charges through enemies like a killing machine. Meanwhile, Hiji and her brother are fighting off bug monsters. A raider tries to sneak up behind Hiji, but blue flames burst out, burning the attacker instantly. Hiji is shocked and turns to see a robed figure controlling the flames. She tells her brother the mysterious man just attacked his own team to protect her. As the clock hits midnight, Julian quickly copies a new skill on his phone. The calm knight keeps fighting like a pro. Julian activates his new buff and casually shoots a huge fireball that burns the monsters to ash. Hyesung's leader clicks his tongue in frustration and teams up with Julian to clear the rest. Julian goes wild with a blood frenzy skill getting stronger with every kill. He shoots one last big fireball that puts the boss to sleep. Everyone wonders if that was the final blow, but Julian's excitement fades when the boss wakes up and enters its final phase. The boss swings its massive sword with so much force that Hiji's brother barely blocks the shockwave. Everyone gets knocked back like ragdolls. Julian feels scared, thinking he might die. Suddenly, a stranger saves him. Julian is speechless as the man tells him he owes him a favor now. Saved by Hiji's brother, Julian quickly fires a fireball at Connell, destroying the boss in front of Hyesung. The pile of loot around the boss shows it's part of the boss system. Hyasung claims the boss system and warns the raiders to stay out of trouble. The raider leader argues no one should underestimate their powerful mage. Julian's quest system alerts him he's completed the main quest and will be teleported to the tutorial field to pick his rewards. The raider leader looks at Julian, thinking he looks familiar but can't place him. Julian casually grabs the boss reward. Before the masked raiders can stop him, Julian's system teleports him away, leaving everyone angry and scammed. In the tutorial field, Julian wonders if he really just tricked them all. Suddenly, tons of system notifications flood his screen. Before he can read, a tiny fairy appears and introduces herself as Ego, his tutorial assistant. She says now that he finished the main quest, it's her job to guide him through the rest. Julian feels anxious and says no one told him about a tutorial assistant. He wonders if this is special for people with rare traits like his. Ego politely asks to start the reward process. Julian agrees, and she shows a panel for trade upgrades, like evolving his skills to make them stronger. She shows Julian all his abilities and asks which one he wants to upgrade. He thinks about boosting his unearned income skill, but realizes he's still too weak. Then he thinks about what might have happened if the raid was before midnight when his skills reset. He decides upgrading his skill copy ability is the smartest choice. He picks it and upgrades it, now able to copy 4 skills a day instead of 2. This excites him, hoping one day he might get to copy 8. Ego asks if he wants to check other rewards. Julian agrees and gets a sword that causes fiery explosions, annoying him because everything he gets is fire-related. Then he opens a Skillmaster reward box with a big SP boost. He also unlocks a new subtrait for one skill and gets extra options to choose from. Checking the boss loot, he finds an SS-grade cursed necklace that boosts his stats massively. He realizes the boss skill must have been terrifying. Curious, he checks and learns that if the boss's HP dropped below 10%, it would fully heal and get a 50% stat boost, impossible for Julian to beat alone. Julian's SP hits 20,000, so he starts upgrading his abilities, focusing on safety skills. After upgrading, he lies down exhausted but satisfied. Just then, Ego drops a bomb. The real tutorial is just beginning. She asks if he remembers the last line from the main quest. Julian vaguely recalls something about Earth and humanity surviving. Ego explains that Earth is in danger from monsters invading through other dimensions. Back on Earth, soldiers guard a portal. After the raid, Hyasung faces reporters and says his team got beaten badly and the raiders stole their boss. A journalist asks what the boss dropped, and Hyasung says it boosts stats but refuses to give more details. Meanwhile, Fire Lady watches the news and jokes her brother that the guy who saved her would be toast against Hyasung alone. She calls Julian, trying to learn the truth about him. Julian tries to keep it low-key, but Fire Lady quickly figures out who he is by his gear and fireball power. Julian says she didn't show up at the raid and apologizes for not helping with such a dangerous mission. Then he jokes he was just goofing off in the bathroom and hangs up. At his place, Julian relaxes, hoping she won't bother him again soon. His mind drifts back to the tutorial world, where a voice keeps reminding him Earth is threatened by monsters from another dimension, and it's his job to save it. His Skillmaster power is a unique broken ability given by divine beings for this mission. He wonders why he was chosen, and if he has any divine connection, but realizes he's just an ordinary guy with no special background. The voice tells him to stop overthinking. The voice explains he's special because he's already killed many beasts and earned great rewards. But he has no choice. He carries divine shards as the chosen hero. How he uses his power is up to him. The voice asks if he wants to abuse his skill for easy gains or take the responsibility to save the world. Being a hero doesn't mean picking the hardest path. It's his choice. Julian thinks world-saving stuff is way beyond him and just wants to chill with chicken and beer instead. Meanwhile, Hiji is thrilled to confirm the mysterious robed mage is Julian, a wild fire mage. Her brother watches as she insists she needs Julian on her team to reach the top. He sighs and tells her to be more careful if she wants to survive. She ignores him and starts planning, predicting Julian will head to a dangerous spider cave next. The next day, Hiji talks to Julian as he sells loot. She calls him out, knowing all about him. Julian plays it cool, saying he's just a friendly healer, but she's not buying it. Her brother sighs, knowing it's no use arguing with his sister. He pays Julian and drags him away, knowing Julian is in over his head. Before they leave, Julian nervously says he needs a bathroom break, making Hiji grin because she already noted that he has frequent diarrhea. When he returns, Heiji bluntly asks if he's the wizard who disappeared after the canal raid and if he's the psychopath. Mage. Juyeon tries to dodge, but she keeps pressing. They enter the spider cave field, and Heiji promises to keep Juyeon's secret since she works in the same field. Juyeon admits he can't hide it anymore and asks her to keep it private. She says it all makes sense now. He has more magic power than her. She asks about his skill book for buffs and healing. Her brother interrupts, warning them the dungeon is dangerous. Juyeon laughs it off but stays alert. Heiji's brother points out that many monsters here are stronger than usual. Juyeon thinks this might be a good chance to test his new powers. Although this ice magic wasn't as powerful as fire, Juyeon realized it wasn't half bad and could help him avoid getting caught. Heiji couldn't believe her eyes and asked Juyeon if he wasn't a fire mage just a minute ago. Juyeon, however, didn't give her a straight answer. Later, the trio sat in a cafe enjoying their meal, while Juyeon looked gloomy. He wanted to run away as soon as the hunt ended. His mind drifted back to what happened in the dungeon, how he dealt massive damage to the boss monster with a single shot and absorbed all the souls of the field boss, the queen spider. Because of that, Heiji and her brother got nothing, leaving Juyeon with no choice but to stick around and share the meal with them. Juyeon tried to push those thoughts aside as he took a sip of his drink, but the maniac girl interrupted with a proposal. She pointed out that monsters weren't the only threat in the field. PvP often erupted between different parties or groups. After a few more comments, she tossed a contract his way. When Juyeon asked for confirmation, she explained that reliable, users were hard to find in the industry. Now that they shared a secret, things had changed. She pulled out all the stops to get him to sign the contract, even offering him a fully stocked office with every luxury imaginable. Juyeon glanced at the contract and commented that the terms were too good to reject, so he ended up signing it. Afterwards, the persistent woman handed him a debit card, telling him to buy whatever he needed. She assured him she'd manage the money he earned from field hunts. Heiji then asked if he needed further explanation, but Juyeon shook his head, signaling no. He acted like a kid whose every wish had just come true. After that, he went hunting with Heiji again and found it easier than ever. He even got a bit shy, realizing just how cute his manager was. He no longer envied his role model, and, now that he had the skill, saw that life was working out pretty well for him. He thought about whether using Fireball along with Blood Combat X would create a powerful attack. Excited, he rushed to his manager and told her to get ready to head to the field. The next day, Heiji's brother eyed her suspiciously as she looked completely mad in love. He asked if she really trusted Juyeon enough to tackle a C-rank field with only 3 people. She shrugged and said they'd wanted to do one for a while. He reminded her the recommended level was far above their capability. Right then, Juyeon, a level 15 scrub, showed up and told him not to worry. The big guy immediately pointed out Juyeon was the weakest, and that an incomplete party made the field even harder. Juyeon replied that he had it covered because he trusted his broken blood frenzy skill to carry them through. Inside the C-rank dungeon, notorious for sneaky plant monsters that jump out unexpectedly, most people brought at least 2 wide-range damage dealers to survive, but this party had something else. Juyeon threw a fireball and lit up the wood monsters without blinking. The siblings stared in disbelief as he roasted the enemies like it was nothing. With his usual loser face, Juyeon was confident. His trait pushed his fire magic beyond the limit, and his plan to chain all the busted skills he copied worked perfectly. He unleashed explosive waves of fire, wiping out monsters in massive bursts just to show how absurdly overpowered he was. Heiji's brother kept watching Juyeon laugh like some kind of creep, while Heiji stared with a disappointed face as Juyeon nearly soiled himself mid-killing spree, acting like the coolest guy on the planet, completely absorbed in his fire spells. A discount James Bond type stood at a distance, eyes fixed on Juyeon. The guy was live-streaming everything to a screen somewhere, calmly reporting to his boss that he had eyes on the target. It turned out the man watching was the actual raid boss. The moment he spotted Juyeon, a wicked grin spread across his face as if he'd waited forever for this. Meanwhile, Juyeon kept steam-roasting monsters left and right, leaving shiny loot piles like a trail of broken dreams. Walking over enemy corpses, without a care, he casually scooped up drops and laughed to himself, amazed at how fast his level kept rising. Out of nowhere, he noticed a silvery shiny object on the ground and yanked it up with a big grin, not checking if it was an item or trash. But the vibe flipped fast when he realized he was holding what looked like human remains and shrieked like a little girl, his voice bouncing all the way to Heiji and her brother. They rushed over, asking if he was all right. Juyeon explained there was a whole corpse there, and maybe he'd accidentally killed someone. Looking closer, Heiji went full Sherlock Holmes and told him to chill. The skeleton looked way too clean to be fresh. She figured it was probably a user who got looted clean since no armor or weapons were left behind. She casually suggested they wrap things up and get out fast, her laid-back attitude throwing Julian off. When he looked confused, she explained that murder inside dungeons happened all the time and no one could ever truly prove it. Surprised by how much she knew, Julian asked if she'd ever been attacked like that. She grinned and said she not only survived one, but that the attacker was from her own party. While hunting, a guy suddenly jumped her from behind, trying to steal something special. Unlike monsters, it's nearly impossible to tell when a teammate decides to turn on you and rob you blind. Trying to shake off the tension, she joked about how hot she was and said the guy was probably after something more personal than just her gear. She admitted it was her first time killing someone. Heiji's brother just stared silently as she shrugged and joked creeps like that deserved to get roasted, so it didn't bother her much. In the end, she told Julian to keep one eye open while sleeping because too many crazies were out there. She said he should lean on her handsome brother for backup, unaware that Julian's physical stats far outmatched him. With a smug look, Julian boasted he wouldn't go down to anything less scary than Haniel, and she chuckled, giving him credit for at least having guts. Just then, a tiny pheromone bomb dropped near their feet, releasing intoxicating gas that left all three wobbly and weak in the knees. Right after, a swarm of terrifying tree monsters closed in. Shield Bro jumped forward to protect the group like a proper tank. Fearless as ever, Julian ignored him and charged straight at the monsters, shouting he had it under control. What he didn't know was that Budget James Bond already had his crossbow locked on him, a bolt aimed right at Julian. Not long after, the bolt fired, and Julian's spidey sense kicked in just as it made contact. Instead of piercing him, the thick steel arrow bounced off his skin like it hit a brick wall. The siblings screamed in panic while Julian stared at the failed assassination attempt and laughed, mocking the would-be hitman for thinking he could take down his rock-solid body with such a pathetic weapon. That laugh didn't last, as a nasty combo of stun, slow, and pain debuffs hit him all at once, shutting him down fast. Dropping to his knees, he groaned while the siblings stood frozen, watching him collapse in agony. The shady guy in the distance grinned wide, savoring the moment he'd waited for. Julian slammed to the ground, and Heiji rushed to help, casting Fire Spear to drive the monsters back. It burned to a crisp, but more monsters charged in, making it hard to fend them off while protecting Julian. She knew she had to decide quickly and told her brother to clear a path. He lifted Julian over his shoulder. Without wasting time, they fought through the swarm, dodging explosions and pushing past all odds to get out safely. That's when a blonde dude blocked their way, mocking them for trying to run without a fight. Heiji's brother demanded to know who they were. It was obvious they wanted Julian, telling them to drop him and leave. Tension spiked, but Heiji refused to back down. She hurled another fire spear, keeping enemies at bay and refusing to give up Julian. Blonde dude swatted it away like nothing, leaving her stunned. That's when it hit her. He was there during the canal raid. Blonde dude smirked, calling her pretty but clueless, a total bonehead. Since they wouldn't listen, he decided they all had to die, telling his crew to blow it up. A pink smoke burst out, exposing nearby monsters. Blonde dude gloated that they couldn't use pheromone bombs too often. Waves of monsters charged at the trio, but they fought back fiercely. In the middle of it all, Julian, still unconscious, felt deep pain. His body wouldn't move and his skin burned like fire. His mind was foggy, wondering if this was how he died, clueless about what was happening. Then, Julian's eyes snapped open to a horrific sight. Heiji and her brother had wiped out the swarm but were covered in heavy wounds. Julian barely managed to ask why they'd go so far for him. His mind flashed back to when Heiji told him to hide behind her brother if things got dangerous. Noticing him awake, Heiji asked if he could walk, but Julian brushed it off and shamelessly asked them to keep it a secret. Blonde dude sarcastically praised how well they held their ground while dragging around Julian, the good-for-nothing jerk. Smugly, Julian said the pain wouldn't be as bad as what was coming next. Suddenly, Julian stood up, surprising Heiji, who hadn't expected him to have any strength left. Blonde dude eyed Julian's battered body and mocked him, sure it must hurt like hell. Julian admitted it hurt like crazy, but the creep was already planning to tear him apart. Julian snapped his fingers. Blonde dude laughed, thinking they were ready for his fireball with the barrier. Julian calmly asked if they were sure about that, then unleashed a barrage of spells that definitely weren't fireballs. Blonde dude started to suspect Julian might be the one who took Muhammad's ring. Right then, Julian cast Meteor Rain. Blonde dude panicked, thinking it could wipe out everyone, even his own squad. Julian didn't hesitate, firing a flurry of spells like he was just getting started. The ground cracked and smashed beneath them. The trio finally got a breather, and Julian dropped to the ground, panting after barely surviving thanks to a last-second teleport. Turns out, just past midnight, Julian had been setting his 4 skill slots. He copied Fireball Explosion into Blood Combat, leaving 1 slot open. Then, he watched a video of a guy firing an arrow at a bald man and teleporting right after. It wasn't about confidence. It felt smart, like insurance. Teleport is a unique trait letting you mark a target and move with it when casting a skill. Julian basically hit the jackpot with mass teleport and even got bonus perks. It felt like his lucky day, so he broke into a happy dance. Back in the present, Julian promised to explain everything later. With things settled, Hiji was ready to scoop up the loot those idiots left behind. Meanwhile, people on the ground were speechless, jaws dropped at the massive cracks and pits scattered across the area. Someone joked that Muhammad must have charged through here. Julian had saved himself big time. He's already at war with them. That's how he managed to get some intel. The Raider Guild is currently gathering at Ganjam Resort Ski to hunt for a hidden treasure left behind by their former leader. He can't get involved directly, though. His every move draws too much attention, making this mission even riskier. His secretary cuts the meeting short, leaving the choice to them. Play it safe, or go all out to wipe out the enemy. 2 teams line up facing off when suddenly, out of nowhere, a hand shoots up. It's a stunning woman holding what looks like the tail of the red dragon. In a flash, the man excitedly welcomes Miss Lin Xiaoling. But instead of a warm greeting, she flicks his forehead with a sly smirk, sending him rocketing into the wall. She casually calls him a dumbass and tells him his intel was way off. The former guildmaster is dead, making her the new Raider Guild leader. Right then, everyone bows to Lin Xiaoling with no other option. She demands to be called boss from now on and clears up all confusion on the spot. Just like that, Lin Xiaoling takes the throne as the Raider Guild head. She informs the lackeys that monster patterns have been tracked up to the 20th floor and leaves them to deal with the monster materials. She asks about the old man's faction and hears that 98% of his followers have been wiped out, with the rest to be dealt with soon. She likes the sound of that and orders them to retrieve the old man's untouched treasure sitting idle in Korea. Lin Xiaoling makes it clear, the days of powerless monkeys getting rich are over. This is the era of superpowers, and anyone daring enough to challenge her for the throne must earn their power, because the crown belongs to her alone. Meanwhile, Yu Yan is having the time of his life at Ganjam Ski Resort for the first time ever, even if it's far from a fun zone thanks to roaming monsters. The snow stays frozen year-round, and the constant blizzards and icy roads have hurt the place's reputation. Kim Hee-ji just wants to get the job done so they can enjoy the resort a little while. Hee-ji's brother thinks it's foolish that only 3 of them came. Kim Hae suggests heading back to the Raider Guild, casually revealing she sold the boss item under her name when they got rid of it, making her a target just like Julian. Hee-ji's brother is annoyed that they're handling things, but Kim Hee-ji tells him to chill, reminding him they're veterans who've survived plenty. Julian is shocked when she calls him a veteran, but she backs it up. Surviving both the boss raid and a PK group attack earns you that title. As they move toward the field, Kim Hae leads the way, only to be blocked by members of the Enjoy Guild, who threaten them with death. Kim Hae asks if they're with the User Association or have any right to claim an open field, but the bonehead orders her to get lost. It's under their control. That ticks Julian off. Even if he's no hero, he feels he should protect what matters. The bonehead mocks Kim Hee-ji, telling her to come hug it out and promising to soothe her gently, which hits a nerve. Hee-ji's brother has had enough. Julian loads a fireball in his hand, furious that the jerk dared point a sword at him, wishing he had the strength to break it. The fireball catches everyone's attention. They quickly realize who he is, the infamous psycho, backed by 2 rogue veterans and a tank. Julian isn't planning to sit around. It's time to show what real control looks like. The Enjoy Guild goons start shaking, mumbling about their guild coming in first. Julian doesn't care. He hurls the fireball at them, catching them off guard. They can't believe the psycho actually threw it. Julian glares, warning that if they come at him again, they're as good as dead. Kim Hee-ji and Hee-ji's brother notice how different he looks. Sharp, confident, dominant. But just as they say it, Julian's usual goofy self kicks back in. Even he feels weird making threats, joking that blackmail might be more his style. Inside. The field. Monsters swarm the Enjoy Guild members who've been profiting from controlling the area. Suddenly, a fireball out of nowhere scares the hell out of them. A man in a white cloak steps in and introduces himself as a hunter. The Enjoy Guild jerk claims the area is off limits to outsiders, saying it's already packed with level 40s and suggests they check other fields. But the man in white wants to see who really gets pushed out. His group storms the field, cutting down enemies and carving their own path forward. Green Hood apologizes for not realizing how the Enjoy Guild was running the place. The man in white orders his team to split up and eliminate any threats without interruption. Their goal, reach the deepest, highest part of the field to find the imitation bracelet. Julian and Kim Hedy are over the moon, totally hyped to be at the ski resort. Meanwhile, Hedy's brother stays grounded, reminding them to focus. He points out the Raider Guild isn't just some random amateur group, and if they want to get ahead, they'll need a preemptive strike. Plus, there's no clear way to tell the Enjoy Guild from the Raider Guild. Jean points out the Raider Guild is all about treasure hunting, not monster experience points. That little detail sparks a mischievous idea in Julian, and a sly grin spreads across his face. Meanwhile, at the ski resort, someone tosses a pheromone bomb. Thick pink smoke fills the air, catching everyone off guard. A wave of monsters rushes, in like an unstoppable tide. On the other side, Julian and the others watch the chaos unfold from a distance, the majestic yet terrifying sight. Julian immediately remembers how those rascals once used the pheromone bomb skill on them and feels pretty sure it sucks to be on the receiving end now. He watches with a smug look, feeling just a little satisfied. Still, Hedy's brother points out there's no solid proof they're actually the Raiders. Jean explains it like a lesson. If those fools downstairs don't run from a swarm of monsters and hold their ground, it can only mean one thing. Whether they're farming XP or chasing something important enough to risk it. Kim Hedy adds that judging by their skill usage, each of them is way above the recommended level for this area. Heeji's brother finally gets it. If it's not about XP, something else is keeping them there. Knowing their goal isn't monsters, they decide to follow and throw in a little bonus before leaving. Julian tosses a bomb into the mix, while Kim Heeji quietly wonders if Jian has always been like this, or if something's changed in him. Meanwhile, Green Hood asks for their location on the map, heading straight into the cave. Julian hits the jackpot when his plan works to locate the Raider Guild's group of freaks. Turns out Jian's been saving something special for moments like this. Amid all this, Julian senses something off. He's planning a massive ambush for the people who tried to kill him but feels strangely calm. Suddenly, Kim Heeji checks in to see if he's all right. Julian eases her worries. They can't afford to waste time lost in thought. Later, he realizes he never expected monsters to be such uninvited guests. Volunteering for recon and hiding here turned out to be a great choice. His lackey agrees, noting there were too many people at first to carry just one item. No doubt the mobs got arrested. Suddenly, everyone's caught off guard by a surprise crossbow attack. Arrows fly through the air, and a guy demands to know who they are. Frustrated, even though he dodged, he still got hit. Turns out Julian shot him with a bow of weakening, a weapon that slows and pains the target for 3 minutes and stuns them for 1 minute if their health drops below 30%. Julian figures this guy's health is still above 30%, but he's happy to let him feel the debuffs now, planning to finish him off once his health hits 0. The dude freaks out, begging Jian to stop. No chance of that happening. Afterward, Green Hood's squad checks in with recon, but they've lost contact with the folks at the entrance. Someone attacked them out of nowhere. Green Hood takes charge, alerting everyone to protect the treasure at all costs. Just as they rush in, Kim Heeji unleashes Firestorm, possibly torching everything nearby. Then, out of nowhere, the whole place explodes. Thunder strikes crash down. Someone screams the tanker has been neutralized. Green Hood immediately orders his men to take down the mages before paralysis wears off. Even so, he's still sending his squad to handle the situation. With no tanker left, Julian steps up to prove there are no pushovers. Out of the blue, he pushes harder, breaking his limits by calling on radiant power. Suddenly, a blue window pops up, applying a random buff that boosts his stats like crazy. Green Hood thinks Julian's constant fireball use is foolish, sure Julian's nothing compared to his shield, and that a rank E move won't cut it. But Julian, doesn't wait. He blasts Green Hood mid-sentence, sending his lackey flying. The giant fireball has everyone freaking out. Green Hood, snapped back to reality, realizes this isn't 95% reduced damage. Juin casually thanks the dumbasses for letting them have all the treasure. Then he unleashes an explosion, bursting out like fireworks. At the same time, the man in white orders his men to sort things out and regroup at the summit. Suddenly, a massive explosion echoes in the distance. He immediately knows something's wrong and commands everyone to quit all operations and head straight to the summit.